Welcome everybody to the April meeting of Goulburn Water County Council. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay respect to their people, both past and present, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who are present. Leave of absence. We have Neil will be shortly here. He's just got held up. He'll be not too long away. Attendance of councillors by audio-visual link. We do have the code of conduct there, that meeting code that relates to that. The webcasting of council meetings. Sorry, I must admit there that Matt Austin has put in for that code to use the audio-visual link to attend. I'll just get a mover and a seconder that we accept Matt. Rodney and Cameron, thank you.
And through the chair, I'll just mention that he's advised us that he's sick. The reason being that he's sick and he's dying.
All in favour of that? Against? Carried. Thank you. Webcasting of council meetings. Attendees of this meeting are reminded that the meeting is being recorded and made publicly available on council's website. And persons attending the meeting should refrain from making any defamatory statements. We have no presentations scheduled for this meeting. A confirmation of the minutes. There's a recommendation there that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting of 26th of February 2026, copies of which were previously circulated, are hereby confirmed as true and correct of the proceedings of that meeting. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Cameron and Les, thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Disclosure of declarations of interest. Councillors and senior staff are reminded of their obligation to declare their interest in any matters listed before them. Councillors may declare an interest at the commencement of the meeting, or alternatively at any time during the meeting, should any issues progress or arise that would warrant a declaration. Councillors must state their reason for declaring any type of interest. Business without notice urgent. There's a code there that if there's any of that to come up, we will address that as we need to. No chairperson's minute, but I would just like to advise all councillors present that the general manager's performance review is scheduled for August of this year. If anyone's got anything they would like to raise or address, if they can email or give me a phone call preceding that it can be addressed. Reports from committees. Page 8. Minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 5th of March. There's a recommendation there that the council receive and note the minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 5th of March. A mover and a seconder for that recommendation. Joanne and Graham. I'd just like to advise that Neil's make yourself Neil. Yes, very well, thank you. Any discussion on that ARIC meeting?
Yes. Just for anyone reading, there's no information whatsoever what each one's about. I just don't know whether there should be a bit more clarity or information provided around
the content of the meeting.
Yeah, those reports. I mean, if anyone here wouldn't mean a thing when you read what's there, it's just about the report basically. But I don't know whether it's, I know it'd be interesting to see what everyone else thinks, but there's, should be just a bit more information provided on those reports.
Yes, through the chair, some councils do it in confidential and they provide the councillors all the information, or it's something that we can hand out to all councillors, but quite often that information is not public.
Yeah.
So through the chair, are you comfortable if we send it out to all councillors?
Yeah, just no, perhaps be to see them actually just a bit more about what happened there.
Yes, so through the chair, we suggested that the minutes following the meetings, we send it out to all the area committee members, we can send it out to the board as well, if you're comfortable with that.
Because all we've got there is the resolution.
Yep, sure.
I think that's a good idea. After the meeting,
Yeah.
we get the minutes. It doesn't have to be in the agenda. Anything can be raised at the meeting. Take that on board. So all in favour of that report, noting that we're going to adjust it. Against? Carried. Thank you. Correspondence, I guess there's no incoming correspondence. Page 14, Corporate Service Manager, Council's cash and investment report for February and March. The recommendation there, the Council receive and note the Council cash and investment report for February and March of 2026. A mover and a seconder. Graham and Les, thank you. Any discussion on that? Do note we've had an increase in our income, which is pleasing.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, we're not going to have an increase now and never will have.
No, that's right.
Through the chair, like the interest rates that we're getting to on our investments, they're all in the falls, with the
Yes.
exception of one.
Very good, so no further discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favour of that recommendation?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Page 18, Corporate Services Manager, recommendation that Council receive and adopt the quarterly budget review for the period ending the 31st of March 2026. Mover and a seconder for that recommendation is Joanne and Cameron, thank you. So we've got it there in front of us. It's good to see the surplus there. Any questions or discussions on that report? There's a few things, just money swapping around, but the balances remain the same at the end. We're just reprioritising some of the work we've brought forward as needed. So if there's no more questions on that, we'll take a vote. All in favour of that recommendation? Aye. Against? Carried. Customer Service Charter. Recommendation there that Council receives and adopt the updated Customer Service Charter. A mover and a seconder on that recommendation is Les and Cameron, thank you. So we have the charter there in front of us. There's a few changes there from the previous one, but changing word but not changing meaning the way I read it. No questions on that? Sorry.
This is probably dandy for some, perhaps, on page 30, under our customers. I just wonder how it's written, at Goldenfields Water we recognise and so forth. Just whether it should be Goldenfields Water recognised rather than, I don't know, it just sounds quite right to me. And it should be just Goldenfields Water recognised instead of at Goldenfields we recognise.
Kieran's nodding.
Not making it. Just interested to see what other people think about it. That's all. Just
Yeah, through the chair, we have to make that slight amendment.
Yeah. Either way.
Yep.
Reduce the verbosity. Reduce the verbosity.
That's a big one. Okay, if there's no further discussion on that, we'll take a vote. All in favour of that recommendation? Against? Carried. Thank you. Operations Manager, Operations Works update. Recommendation that council receive and note the update report. As you can see there, they've been quite busy. A lot of work's been happening there, and it was very pleasant to add a few photos to the report. It appears that that excavator we bought for a job has been getting plenty of use. Oh, sorry. A mover and a seconder for that report before we go into it. Cameron and Neil, thank you. Thanks, Aaron. So discussion there. As I said, the boys have been very busy. It's good to see us doing a lot of this work in-house, and as I said, that new excavator that we purchased for a specific job is certainly getting some work.
Chair, it'd be interesting to know between the two southern and the northern areas that there's not a real lot of difference between the issues that have been having.
The bursts.
Yeah.
It'll be good to see those bursts coming down as this new pipe goes in.
I take it most of the bursts are through the asbestos pipe.
Not necessarily, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. No, not necessarily. We have, a lot of our problems come from the early versions of the PVC pipe. So when asbestos stopped getting made and early versions of the PVC came out, we're finding they're actually really quite brittle. And where we would have hoped for an 80-year life, we're only getting about a 50-year useful life out of them. It depends a bit on which specific type of pipe was installed. But yes, we do have a big mix. Our asbestos pipes actually hold up really well.
I just noticed in Wyong, I'm not sure if it's the Agiri line or where it comes to the end of the Wyong line, there's a lot of burst on that particular line going down the road.
And through the chair, it's interesting how many of them are to do with trees. So quite often, where the pipelines have been installed in early days with no trees, the trees have grown on top and they wrap around. And it tends to be just on a particularly windy day, all of a sudden just rocks it enough and you get a burst. And it makes it extremely difficult for our guys, particularly at night time. Quite often it's 2 or 3 in the morning. They have to first of all remove the tree to then get to the burst. So, rather interesting. But yeah, these PVC pipes, we get all sorts of longitudinal cracks. Our staff detail each of these, and then we can also pinpoint where we believe or where we should then prioritise replacements.
Just on PVC pipe, it's interesting to note that over the last month or so, I think there's been about a 30% increase in the price of that. So all that pipe we have on hand that we bought for those future projects has turned out to be a very wise decision. So well done there.
Through the chair though, page 41, it's a big milestone for us. This was the underhaul in West Wyong, and you can see the extent of the works there, particularly the size of the trench to install the pipe under the railway line. And the technology there, it's only a small hydraulic jacking type arrangement, and I think, Sammy, it was within 1 day they slowly pushed the pipe through. And it's like an auger, it actually augers the dirt through, so as they punch, it's spinning the dirt. And the sleeve is actually the auger in the process, isn't it? Then they remove the auger.
They put the sort of like the drill head at the top, and then you have a big sort of screw down the centre, and then you just slide on another pipe, weld the pipe, attach another like sort of screw piece, and just keep going. And then when that gets pushed through, you go again. And then after that, we slide our pipe. So that was just like the main hole, the main bore, and then you slide our pipe through afterwards and grab between. Very seamless.
See, what intrigues me with that is how they keep it straight. Like you hit a rock or something, think of it sort of
deviate.
Yeah.
You can get minor deviations, but they said the material out there was fantastic to work through because it's mostly lime. And it held up really well. So because it's such a deep trench, We were looking at benching it out, but then we weren't going to get enough reach with the excavator, so we actually got a geotechnical engineer to come out, assess the site, and he said, "No, this material is good and stable, and so there's no risk of trench collapse," and so that's why, yeah, we don't have the benching there. But yeah, beautiful to drill through as well, fortunately.
And Sammy, the reason why we did this underbore?
Is to connect. Now our bypass pipeline can connect, our trunk can connect straight into the town, rather than its normal operation is to go all the way out to our reservoirs, up to our high level reservoirs, and then down out and to feed the town. But if there's ever an outage or a problem with that, with the reservoirs, pump station and pipework into town, we can now feed in just direct from the trunk, which is, yeah, just a great backup supply to have.
Yeah. How long did the approval take to get that done?
Yeah, it's got to be at least 18 months.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
Not
because
longer than the
no,
job.
it's
It's a
December.
Not longer than the
That's
job.
not
Yeah,
new
yeah.
rail.
Always.
No,
That's just existing
no,
rail.
that's just an
And it's still
existing.
used though. Is it still used?
It is minorly. Not often. It just is.
It just gives us a second connection, because
Yeah.
otherwise there was only one connection. Should something happen with the railway line crossing down the track, you've got no alternative to get the water across.
And it's pleasing to note, I was going to ask the question, but you've answered it, that we do actually put a pipe in there that our pipe goes through. So if we need to replace it, we don't have to unbore again.
Yeah.
Probably do, actually, yeah, because you grout fill it. It's just, yeah, it's a
Okay,
sticky
so
thing,
it's-
so unfortunately you'd need to
Go on.
redo.
And we've got, over the page through the chair, we've got a couple of photos there of our mobile filtration truck. So following the meeting, we'll pop out and have a look here in tomorrow, the unit in operation.
Getting good results from that, it's been a good investment. Okay, so there's our report. Did you want to speak to that, Alex, or you're right?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As long as there's no other questions, it's great to hear some good conversation around what's been happening out and around the traps in the field, and it's definitely been a busy period.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no further discussion or questions, we'll put that to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. We move on to production and service manager, water production report. Recommendation that council receive and note the water production report. Mover and a seconder for that recommendation. Les and Rodney, thank you. There's our report there. You can see we've had a fair spike in January in production across most of the areas. Starting to drop back off again now, back to a normal sort of consumption. Any other questions, discussion?
Through the chair, I might just mention, if you look at GWCC, how it's tracking, it's right up there for this particular year, and on page 48, you'll notice a major increase over that January period, that hot weather period. And we've got some big users out of that system. We did actually run some of that water through Temora here. So Temora is on the Hour scheme, but prior to the Hour scheme, it was ran off the GWCC scheme. So we have the ability to run it through both, and we did for a period of time. I think it was to help with, during that peak period, to get more of the Hour water out to West Wyalong. So we have that ability to be able to cross it over, which is really good to see. There's a table that Jeff's prepping for us going forward that we'll try and get into this report, just showing how much we do use of our licence. And it was interesting, I think last year was at 94%, I just pulled up the graph.
93, I think, something like that.
Yeah, it's actually 94 for hours, so we actually use 94% of our licence last year. So it'll be interesting to see this year how we're tracking. GWCC, there's still a bit of spare capacity there, because last year was 86%. And as we mentioned at the last meeting, we've sold some of that surplus water temporarily. contained, I think it's 435 megalitres for this year. So that's the first time ever we've done that. But as you can see, and the graph will show at the next meeting, we're seeing each year we're selling more. So at a certain point, we'll either have to buy or acquire more allocation, or put measures in place not to use as much.
Chair, just on that, with the Gimbley feedlot and LBC eggs coming on out there, does that increase it, or are they sort of made that much difference to it?
So without naming businesses, yeah, there's a number of big users that have really ramped up with usage, and that's still within the capacity of our licence.
Can I ask you, Chair, with that surplus, do you go out and look for people who may want to purchase, or will they come to you and say, how does that work?
Yeah, so through the chair, there's traders, like we can do it ourselves. There are traders, so we've just gone through a trade and they charge a percentage, and then they put it on the market. The issue that I've found though is we get a bit of a discount because we need to, each time we sell it, the department needs to approve it, so there's a couple of week wait, and some purchasers are prepared to wait that duration, they want the order straight away. Others are happy, for a couple of weeks or a month down the track, but there's a bit of a discount applied to that. So again, this is the first time we've ever done it, but otherwise, yeah, so we just figured it was a good economic decision to do.
Excuse me, I feel it quite fortuitous that we did this before the cost of fuel went up, and this will help offset our extra running costs with the fuel, so our budget should remain the same.
Good management.
So if there's no other further questions on that report, I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Engineering Manager, Capital Works Progress Report. Recommendation there that Council receive and note the Capital Works Progress Report as of 31st of March. I move and second for that motion. Rodney and Joanne, thank you. Okay, so there's the report there in front of us. I think everything's tracking fairly well. Is there any questions?
Chair, it looks like the budget and the actually
Right on the money, yeah.
EVM,
75%, 73%, yeah. So congratulations there, the work's getting done.
And within budget.
And yes, some things there I see are under budget, so that's very pleasing, yeah. Congratulations to the crews involved.
Through the chair, I'll just highlight page 63. So there's just a breakdown of the projects that go over a number of years. With something that was identified in one of the earlier ARICs, just to give a good indication to people that have a look at the total spend over the life of that project.
No further questions or comments, I'll put that to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Blanchard Council request for connection to Mandamar RFS shed. We have a recommendation there that Council waiver the $20,000 augmentation charge for the Mandamar RFS shed. A mover and a seconder for that recommendation. Cameron and Graham, thank you. So discussion on that.
Chair, I think that's pretty standard sort of thing, isn't it? The fire service and emergency service.
And I read there somewhere we give them a certain amount of water before we charge you too. So. Okay, so nothing else on that? I'll put that to the vote. All in favour of that recommendation? Against? Carried. Ballyrogan Bores, Engineering Manager, a recommendation there. The Council approved the General Manager to negotiate with Carrickfergus Shire Council the terms for Goldenfield Water to assume full ownership of the Ballyrogan Bores the pipeline from the bores to the Mount Daylight pump station and the water licence, and to present the negotiated items to the board for final approval. Mover and seconder for that recommendation. Thanks, Neil. And Cameron, thank you. Okay, any discussion? I don't know if
Might hand it over to Sammy, or I can kick off first of all. So this is a bores we share with Carrigal Shire. They're based on the road reserve. I believe it goes into our reses first and then into their res. If that's correct. I'm assuming that they had the balls before us, and when our scheme went in, I'm assuming that we've piggybacked.
I'm not too sure.
Although at the same time,
I was looking at the old agreement, but it just referenced an earlier agreement that I couldn't find, so.
So the scheme went in like the 80s, I believe. And then that process, whoever owned it at the time, it was still a shared arrangement, but then it changed to get to a we own 5/7.
but it just, look, it highlighted it during the floods. 2022. The need to, if possible, take ownership, and because we do a lot of the work ourselves out there. So yeah, we're just seeking support, the board's endorsement that we can go and have a chat. We've had two discussions with them so far to see if there's an opportunity that we take it over and we run it a bit like we do with the two bulks, and we've put our resources into getting everything up to speed. We are currently doing that right now with raising the platform and the electricals. Back in the day when we had the flood, the water was probably only 100 mil short of all our electricals, caused us a lot of grief, and we may not get another flood like that for 40 years, but we just want to make sure that we can protect it all. And then we can do a service level agreement a bit like we've done with the bulks as well too, just to formalise all that. So yeah, just seeking endorsements, and it may take us a year or so to, and there may not be appetite, I'm not sure, but so far it's been, there is interest from them.
I just note that they've been doing the repairs on any bursts or leaks to the trunk main, and we will take that over, I suppose.
Yeah, correct. That's one of the items that they still undertake is the repairs of bursts. Just because they're situated a little bit closer, but that is something that we would then take over if we were, unless we could arrange it as part of the agreement that they still attend the bursts. So it's certainly something we can try and negotiate.
Just given the location of it.
It's a bit of trouble for us.
It's out of the road, and just wondering how you, firstly, know that there is a burst or a leak, because somebody could ring in, I would assume. Yeah.
That's the normal method, or sometimes we'll notice if our reservoir levels dropping,
Yep.
or a pump just not switching off for some reason. And you sort of go, the water's got to be going somewhere.
And through the chair, the board might like to go on a bus tour. It's a decent bus tour.
Thank you, clients.
Jeff did it in his boat one time.
yeah.
I think the flood water there at one stage was nearly 20 kilometres wide.
Yeah, it took us 3 hours by boat.
Yeah.
Followed the creek all the way back down through.
That's true. So it would be best if they could do the maintenance for us out there. In the agreement. Graham, you had a question?
I've got exactly the same.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I
Okay.
suppose the other part of it, how often do they get leaked? Something we don't know, but I would say it could be.
To take it on notice and get back to you.
Yeah,
It is an ageing pipeline, that is one of the areas where we first put in that white PVC. So Alex's staff have been out there, they did a project earlier this year around Wheat Valley Jansen, so to start trying to replace some of those problematic areas. What often happens is you replace some pipeline out there, and that was the weak spot that always let go, and it just gets to the point where it builds and it gets another, you get another weak spot. But,
And through the chair, if it's going to be replaced, we're paying proportionally either way. So if they decide to do it, or we own it and we do it, we're seeking more from
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're taking on a liability, we already own most of the liability anyway, so just formalises moving forward. Okay, so all in favour of that recommendation?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Council resolutions update. Recommendation there that council receive and note council resolutions update report. A mover and a seconder for that recommendation. Cameron and Joanne, thank you. Okay, discussions there. We've got the update there, the report. Seems that everything's on track. What else seen there? Any other comments or questions? Nothing? Okay, we'll take a vote on that recommendation. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Operational plan. Recommendation there that council endorses 26-27 draft operational plan incorporating the 26-27 budget and annual fees and charges to be placed on public display for a period of 28 days. Mover and a seconder for that recommendation. Neil and Rodney, thank you. Okay, discussion. We have a report there in front of us. Seems to be going with around 5% increase. Pretty much across the board there, I believe, is it?
Yeah. So through the chair, we set it in our 4-year delivery program that we look to do a 5% increase per year. So we're sticking to that. This is our second year of that delivery program. The water sales, we've increased that a bit in that 4 year. We said we budget around the 8, so we've increased around 8,250 just based on the increase that we're seeing. But we do need to realise that if there are wet years, when they eventuate, that it does go down quite a bit. So yes, we can sell 9 million, but at the same time, in the past we have sold in the sevens. We're just going to be conscious on balancing that out. One of the issues I've highlighted there as well too, it is pleasing that one of our biggest fixed costs is the electricity. So that's around 18% of our total expenses. And you might recall, it's been a year basically, and we've got 3 years to remain until 31 December that our contract's fixed. So we're very fortunate in that regard. I've just highlighted there to you at the moment, we haven't adjusted the draft budget for fuel costs, because anything can happen between now and June. And I've highlighted there that you may not even do anything in June for adjusting. We might wait till the next quarterly. But the water sales that was mentioned earlier is in a similar magnitude that we can set aside as reserve for next year. So that's sort of very fortunate. And just highlighted there at the last point is we're looking at a small surplus based on that budget of just $37,000.
Through the chair, is that going to be much of an impact on us regarding the announcement last week about having to pass the levy on? We have to pay that levy.
So that's, I can definitely see those that are carting lots of gravel, so your roadworks, if you've got subcontractors, I can see that with garbage collection is going to be massive with trucks and all. I see just with the materials that we get delivered. So, but it's nothing like the GP councils I can see.
But it still will have an impact.
It will have, but for us I think it's a minor impact to what yourselves with roadworks being, that you've got to shift heaps of material. And I might just highlight too, because it's always people like to know how the cash and investments are going. Page 98, if you just look at the 10-year projection there at the very bottom, we're looking at next year around the 22 mark. And there's been talk, we really don't want to get below the 20 if we can. And you can see there's 2 years there based on the capital, and then it slowly creeps back up into the 20s. And it's been the organisation. My understanding is that we haven't borrowed, it may have been in those early years, but there's been a big position of the boards that we do everything with our own money, and we stage the capital works within the cash flow.
Very healthy, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But Graham may recall, I do know when I started here we had 55 million in the bank. and you can see we're looking at 27. But then you look at the major projects we've been able to do with our own money. You look at Jugiong, number 1, Ara, Mandamar scheme, we built that whole scheme as well too. And the next big one is Jugiong number 2, so that's a boosted pump halfway up the hill. And they're our 3 major, so then we know we've got our 3 major pump stations in very good order. And then, we've looked at reservoirs, but we can't do everything. Get our 3 major pump stations right. Jeff's got his team to do electrical upgrades as well too, to improve the SCADA on the smaller ones. But yeah, we've seen it over the years, the big ones, we've got to make sure that they're functioning well.
And just on that, really, we've set ourselves up for the future very well there, that we've locked in a lot of energy saving too with the new equipment that we've put in and the variable speed drives and everything. So it's been a big investment, but it's set us up for the future. Without that, we wouldn't have the budgets we've got now, I think. So congratulations to forward thinking there.
And then just in the later pages of the document, we've committed to the community there. There's 48 deliverable items, so listed, and then the time frames that we anticipate.
Well, I think that's looking very good, and congratulations to people putting that together.
And through the chair too, we've just picked up some minor typos. So with the chair's approval, we've got the resolution we go out, we'll just do a couple of minor typos in the document that goes out to the community.
Okay, all in favour of that recommendation? Against? Carried. Okay, if I can get it, we'll move into confidential. The council consider the confidential report listed below in a meeting closed to the public in accordance with section 10A2 of the Local Government Act at 10:35 a.m. Jerome and Cameron, thank you. We're back.
Okay, through the chair, in the confidential report section, item 20.1, customer account adjustments, the board resolved that council accept the recommendation to amend water account 44106,756 as detailed in the report and write off charges of $3,605.50. Back to you, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
thank you. Okay, so the next order of business is our next meeting. The next meeting to be held at Golden Hills tomorrow office at 10 a.m. on Thursday, the 25th of June 2026. Meeting closed at 10:45. So I think we're going to go up to...
Thank you, folks. I'm expecting not to have the plague next time, so we'll be there in person. Thank
I'm
you.
glad you didn't